Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gabriel Dinda, and I'm meant to be with you in Delft, Netherlands today. It's a pity that we are not able to make it at this time, but we are happy that we can still be able to communicate and can still be able to share through this platform. I have few ideas regarding responsible design in relation to sustainable development that I would wish to share with you just uh, as we start this workshop. The title of my brief presentation is Responsible Design, a Glimmer of Hope for Africa. I will be able to give a more general brief regarding the situation of Africa and uh, the part that sustainable development has to play in Africa. What does Africa mean for you, if I may ask? Every time you hear of Africa, perhaps your thought, you may think of animals, wildlife, or to some extent, you can think of civil wars and all the things that happen in Africa. However, we feel that there is a chance or there is an aspect which is left out in all this discussion, and this is the potential or the ability of Africa to be to leapfrog uh, development using sustainable development goals. I would wish to liken Africa to a morning sun. You're familiar with this, of course. A morning sun, which in the morning uh, has all the potentials of the day, could be used to provide solar during the day, but again, the sun could be used for other destructive means, or the sun could be a cause of drought in cases where planning does not match the resources which are there. I would wish to liken Africa with a morning sun, which is just rising and is dependent on the decisions that we are going to make further to determine in the evening the usage of the sun that we had in the morning. I would wish to share with you an experience I had a month ago, which made me think for a while. I had gone as our academic duties here at Strathmore University. I had gone to do assessment of students in a town called Machakos, which is about 53 kilometers from Nairobi. I arrived at around 11 a.m., that is 10 a.m. Delft time. And I was shocked to find that the students in class 5 were not able to learn because the power was fluctuating and the design of the room was in a way that they could not use natural light. Machakos is known for sun, and Africa generally is known for sun all year round. So it's a wonder that um, during the day, people are not able to use sunlight to do their activities. This is just but one of them. If in any African city you walk in or you have an experience with, you will notice a phenomenon which will disturb you. You will realize that most young people are in the city pulling carts and are not engaged in any meaningful employment. I remember when I was doing my undergraduate, there was a time our Dean of Students, our newly elected Dean of Students, came to us and told us that the management of our faculty had decided to bring in a new course or a new unit which all of us were required to do. And the course was called Employability Skills 101. So this was meant to introduce us to the employability skills. About 6 years since I graduated, uh, after I graduated, a number of my friends, because we have small groups with our former classmates. So a number of my friends reached out to me and were telling me how they are frustrated getting gainful employment. They are frustrated trying to implement the skills that they learned from Employability Skills 101. Recently, in a hotel here in Nairobi, a hotel advertised for 5 positions of waiters in the hotel, and they invited all graduates to show up for an interview. And shock on everyone, 850 young people showed up for the interview at Eka Hotel in Nairobi. The view, or just looking at the young people scrambling to get into the building just to have an interview, made me think for a while the relevance of the Employability Skills 101, which I was taught when I was doing my undergraduate. And for a moment, I thought of the figures. About 70% of young people in Africa are not engaged in any productive employment. And this opens them up to the opportunities which makes them vulnerable to some of the things that happen around. So I was just imagining if Employability Skills 101 was replaced with something like challenge-based education, where the young people would be taught how to identify and handle challenges that come their way, regardless of the prevailing environment. I look at this as the future of Africa. I look at this as something that we should now invest on more. And just as a proof to this, recently, and in Kenya, the power distribution grid is managed by an organization called Kenya Power. And in my hometown, which is next to Uganda, also a country in Africa, there has not been electricity for a long time. But recently, one of the giant telecommunication firms here in Nairobi, called Safaricom, invested in green energy in partnership with a company called M-Copper Solar. So they distribute the energy, the solar devices to the villagers. And from nowhere, the village became excited because people could watch television. People could be able to use light, the sun. And this has challenged Kenya Power. The uptake of the solar power in the village in Homa Bay has challenged them to a point that last month when I went home, they were now distributing power for free. The power that used to cost a lot of money to be connected, now they are distributing for free. I look at this as something that we can be able to scale up on, as something that we can be able to invest in more. So I compare the Employability Skills 101 that we were being taught and the potential ripple effect that the green energy and the new way of thinking has, and I try to relate them. And I come to the conclusion that responsible design and closely challenge-based education, that is really being which is really being introduced by organizations like KTH and Strathmore University, have a role to play in defining the future of Africa. I only believe that where perhaps as a place where we can be able to start from, it could be on investing on the people. And the people in this case would be that dean of student of my college, who instead of introducing challenge-based education, introduced Employability Skills 101. I would suggest that more focus should be put in this area for the policymakers, for the people in the area which can influence others. These people should be able to get this bit of sustainable development and responsible design. Then we need to talk more about it. We need to write articles about it. We need to engage the industry. We need to engage the media. We need to bring this up so that other organizations that have seemed to have remained behind, like the one I mentioned regarding power, they can be challenged so that they can also rethink some of their systems to incorporate this. Then we need to incorporate it in the organizations. And we need to incorporate it in organizations like Strathmore University, where I come from, and KTH, and any other organization that is represented in this workshop today. We may be able to incorporate some of these things and pass it down as time goes by. For me, I look at responsible design as a glimmer of hope for Africa, as a way to help the students in Machakos to learn using solar, as a way to train the dean of students from my former university to introduce better ways that are more dynamic and ways that may be able to fit in 21st century more. That would be my idea for this workshop. Thank you very much and see you soon.